Hi, my name is Dan Paulson. Are you a true spiritual seeker? And what that means to me is somebody who open-mindedly looks for the truth, not somebody who has a belief and then functions to try and prove that belief. Those are two different things. Okay, that should be very obvious. There are people who have a conviction of something supernatural and they will tell you that all day long, while never being able to interact with it or demonstrate it. They're just claims. And they will have to logical fallacy. They're going to have to pull in their authority from somewhere or somebody else. They don't have any themselves. They're going to be making claims and saying it's true because so-and-so said so, or because it's written here, or because of something like that. It's never because it's true because here, take a look. Do you see it right there? No, it's never like that. In fact, it's a very core reason as you go through the video to see how I got where I did, was understanding that the true authority comes from no person whatsoever. It doesn't come from me either. It comes from understanding the material. Once you see the material is interactive, mentally, personally, for you, and you've interpreted it, you treat the material like it's your guru, and you understand what the guru is telling you, and you do what the guru is telling you, I will tell you right now, that and only that is the authority. If you can't get there, you won't find authority. And I won't tell you there's authority. I will just tell you that when I took this path that I'm pointing to, that is where I found authority in the material, in interacting with it, and in the changing of my life. That is where the only real authority comes from, not from people telling you what to believe. And what you just heard in plain language is right there. If you're familiar with Taoism and the Tao Te Ching, the very first line, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. Nobody ever can be your authority. Only your experience with the material and the success in it can be ever weighed as an authority. However, a seeker knows that. A seeker goes, I don't know what's there. I want to go look. You're telling me it's what? Okay, I see what you mean. I sense those feelings. Well, that's it? That's all you got? Because over here, when I go explore, I sense those same feelings for different reasons. They're not attributed to God or religion. There's some other feelings. And I watch and I see that's an emotional thing. And I see that it goes positive and negative, that people get together and worship and they feel bigger than they ever could have before. They also get together and they hate and they do things worse than they ever would have done before. They're following their own developed field, their own intense field that increases and they get caught up in it. This is how we evolved to know at a deeper level, instinctively, what was good or not good. It was just an emotional good or bad, happy, not happy, fear, joy. Those are what we're experiencing right there. And when somebody says we get together and worship and we feel that joy, yep, that's the same joy we would have felt together as a tribe starving to death that suddenly found massive food. That same joy. We know what to do. The same joy that we feel in escaping getting eaten by something. We have fear and we have joy, and that's what drives evolution. Okay, think of it. Oftentimes, life only continues if there is enough fear in place to keep you out of danger. Now we have where their danger isn't there, but that evolved fear is still in place. And that's what's in the background driving people that have a conviction that have nothing else. There's a fear there of death, and they're using a supernatural conviction to mentally circumvent experiencing that. They just put it off. And I do mean mental experience. We live life through, mental processes. Okay, what I'm going to do is, I could always pull up Myers-Briggs. You can look at personality types and what the various things, and I don't want to get into all of that. If you do, you look at that and you see that there's a lot of different brain types, and you would think, why? What makes us different? What makes us that way? What makes there be introverts, extroverts, engineers, people that are just like, I just want to reproduce and have kids all the time. Now I'm a mother and I got kids, and now I'm a grandmother and I want my kids to have kids. Have you know people like that? I've known people like that are like, well, these are just child-producing engines. What the heck? And you look at that and go, why would you be that way? I was never that way. And you begin to realize, boy, there are differences. And you look and you go, there's a lot of people that are like this. There's a fair amount that are like this. There's not very many that are like this. And you begin to see that breakdown. However, it's spread out all over the place. We are the introverts. We are the ones that don't quite fit. There's a way that we can see ourselves and determine if we're the right ones, but this becomes very dicey. I've done this before not in any videos, but I've tried to talk with people before, and I find that this quickly gets out of control because of human ego. Many people think that they are called. There are religious people who are telling you to get on your knees and give me money and pray that think that they're the right ones. There's a point where you go, how do you even figure this out? We have to mentally think through some things that people aren't in order to see what's really going on. Now, what I'm going to suggest is that if you went and looked through and did, if you looked at the numbers on the different types of brain types and what they're best optimized for, you would see that the most common ones would be in the group, and that other ones have a variety of other functions. There's ones that explore. There's ones that figure out how to process these things. The science kind of minds. There's ones on the outskirts. If you looked at that, you would say, you know what, there's a good balance if everybody was together in a tribe, and that everybody had these personalities at this amount right here. That would be perfect for this tribe to function more as a large unit as opposed to just this willy-nilly group of people running around. That there would be more organization to it based on the way different brains are working, that is now no longer recognized, and life is no longer optimized for that combination. Okay, so for me, I'm going to go through some things that I went through in life that were just struggles because we're not taught these things. You have to figure them out. You're on your own. First of all, I was always awkward. I never fit. Shy and introversion are two different things. We know that, right? Shyness is from something else. Introversion is a brain type that says, whoa, I'm not in this crowd of yammering people over here. I stand back and I look. Those are the people that are generally the explorers, the engineers, or the, philosophers, people like that get out of the crowd. The majority of the people are in this yammering crowd. Look at evolution. How do we survive as a species among lions eating our fragile little selves? You have to be functioning as the tribe has to be like a single entity that has more capacity than just one brain type. There's people on the outside that are looking. That's us. We have a bigger awareness of things. We see what's going on. We're very accurate. We warn the group. We're very sensitive. The group picks up on it. They react in ways without accuracy. The people that are coming at you right now that throw stuff at you, those are the people in the group that they don't process what is danger or not. They just attack what isn't them. That is what they're doing right now. Something is coming into the group to hurt the group. Whatever it is, just go at it. You don't even ask if it's friendly or foe. You don't even want to know about it. You just go after it. Nothing reasonable other than just a reaction to a danger situation. And those are the brain types that we're running into that come after you. Those ones right there. They're unreasonable and they're just acting out. So you have to know that. Don't try to reason with them. Go find a brick wall and smack your head against it. You'll get farther that way. We're up against a brain type that does not have the capacity. It is working through its programming. It is not open-minded, and it doesn't know it, and it thinks it is right above all else. That's its job. You will watch, and it's easy to see that they will even respond to their alpha with a fervor and an unreasonableness that you realize they are not leaders. No, they are doing what they're programmed for. We're outside of that. Okay, for group survival, this group needs to function in a way that someone's in charge. Not everybody's in charge. That's not going to work. So you see that is still what is in place right now. It looks more complicated, but look below the surface. Okay, now there is a personality type that I believe it is INFP, INFJ. That would be under the Myers-Briggs. The INF are the critical ones. I myself am an INFP. And the NF, the people that are NFs have, I'm just going to have to say it, you have somehow there's a better connection that you have to the sensations, I had to go back and edit this in. I have to kind of describe this field that I'm talking about. I believe that we share a field together in a group that is an emotion, that's somewhere in the background that's what's happening. Whenever psychic things happening, I've had a clairvoyant experience in my life that was so clear. It told me that my brother was dead. He was off in the woods by himself. I had not seen him. I was a 9-year-old kid. That impacted me. I realized there is something happening there is. But I explain it as brain connections in the field and the capacity to understand that something is gone, and then I plug in Larry's dead because that's the language that my brain has to give me. So that is what I become aware of. It is no more complicated than that, I believe. I mean, just think about the right next door connections. In the environment, we can smell something. We can hear something. We can taste something. We can feel something. We can experience or sense emotion. That's how we function. Those 5, 6 senses. One of them is just a little bit obscure into how it occurs to our consciousness, and it looks magic, but it's right there. But that this field that we share, we can experience it, and we have to know it inferentially. I don't know that we can test it. I realize that that's a problem with this. So you have to just look at it and use your own experiences and decide whether or not you mentally can infer that it is there. And that is where I believe that we are sharing an emotional field as we get together, and that it's not very strong, but that it can strengthen and ramp up. And when that does, that we become more sensitive to it. And that if it diminishes, we don't feel it as much. When we're off on our own, we're kind of in our own field. But when we get together and worship, you can feel something incredibly high. You can feel that same high, though, if you go travel the world and give in to the life. You will find that feeling everywhere. It comes from the people together and the feelings that they are having at the time. So if you sit back and look at it, what you see is that there is this building of a field, of an emotional field that can be positive or negative. And you know what? That's a horrible term. What I mean is fear or joy. And people get caught up in that, and they don't realize what's going on. And you can sit back and realize what's happening is that the conscious minds of the people working together and focusing and amplifying their emotional connection with this at the time, all of this, everybody's individual amplified emotion gets together, creates a bigger one. Everybody feels that. It creates a bigger one. That this is kind of a process that appears to be a pretty normal process. But do you see that that's what's going on, and it's in the background and unrecognized? Okay, it's energy-based. Let's take it from what we know in the physical world and make some comparisons. You take a small white light and you put it out there, and you can see it. It puts out a small white light, but it doesn't illuminate much. You keep putting more and more white lights together that are the same size, and eventually the field of radiation that they're putting out gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Pretty soon you can see by it. Take a sound, a tone, or something like that, and by itself, it's one. Take a bunch of those and put them together, and they're going to get louder and louder and louder and louder until it's deafening. The same thing would happen in an emotional realm. It's just not a frequency that we're accustomed to understanding as a frequency, because it's not one of the 5 senses, but it is one of our senses. And we function and connect to it through our central nervous system, our endocrine system, our intestinal system, our brain connection. That's why we feel. That's why emotions are a physical sensation, not just a brain thought. Oh, I'm happy. No, it's, it's a sensation. We're in the field. That's the field I'm talking about. And that's the field where I am going to suggest that the supernatural is, that it's our brain connection, but since it's outside of our 5 senses, that it seems magical and mystical, but that it really isn't, and that is what is going on. And that if we understand that and clear things out, honestly, you interact with it much better, realizing that it's not supernatural, but that it is a natural process, and ensuring to follow the steps in here, which is clear out all of the issues that you have so that you can have a pure life, and all of this unfolds naturally. We, however, are deeper into it. Imagine if everybody has vision and everybody sees, but some people can see extremely well compared to other people. Just think of it like that. Everybody can sense this, but some people can sense it extremely well compared to other people. It's evolved into the process. It's part of your job. Not everybody needs to feel that. They'd go crazy. Only enough people need to feel it that are freaked out on the outside, that are watching everything. That's kind of how we feel and how we live life, isn't it? Stand on the outside going, what the hell's going on? Everything's going crazy. And anyway, we'll get into that. I'll try to be a little bit better about describing that. Those are experiences that you've probably had, though, if you are that person. In life, I can remember not fitting in and just not knowing why, wanting to fit in, wanting to be part of the group, being awkward. This is where we have to be careful. A lot of people will say that, and then I listen to them, and they go on and on and on, and they're bothersome, and you go, that's why you don't fit into the group. Not because you're a cold person, but because you bug the hell out of everybody, and you have such a big ego that you're just yammering away. You're not having any conversation with anyone, and they don't want to hear it because you're not open-minded, and you're not going to fit. And it's not because you're a seeker. It's because you have an ego. And you don't have anything. Well, there's other reasons. Okay, we'll get in. We don't have to get into all of that. You as a person that is a seeker are not the kind of person that just listens to people. I get comments. I just had one recently. Somebody keeps asking me, have you read so-and-so? They had a prediction that looked pretty good about the Israelis, Palestinian, blah, 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 blah. I don't even go there. It's like, this is that supernatural crap. And I'm not going to read somebody's book who has this and go, oh, this suits me. That little thing lined up over there. So I'm going to go ahead and become a part of the God of Abraham and convert to Judaism because now I get to go. The thinking is just not even there. You look at that and go, what? What? That's tribal, modern tribal. With brain types that can't think, that need to follow somebody, that can't understand that you're going, yeah, I'm going to go look until I figure it out. I am not following anyone. This is in the material. There's a story of Buddha. After he finally left and went to go learn on his own, the first thing he did is he went and sought out different masters and learned from them until he got to the point where they had nothing further for him. So he would move on to the next master. Same thing happened until he finally went off on his own for his own enlightenment. That is the path that we're following. Throughout my life, I have gathered material, I have read, I have studied, I have learned, but at no point in time through that did I ever stop and say, this person over here says this, so I'm just going to stop right there and believe this person. I never did that happen. That is what is going to happen with us. We don't stop and just go, I like the sounds of this. I'm going to stop right here. You keep looking. At some point, you realize you are not using anybody's mind as your authority, anybody else's perceptions. The authority that you're gaining is from your own capacity to interact with life, your own personal experience. Nobody tells you what to believe supernatural anymore. You're going, this material is for my healing and I'm interacting with it. Get away. You're the carrier. I already have it. Don't keep bringing it to me. Yeah, I know what the wrapping paper says, and I know your version is going to be different from somebody else's. I'm interacting with what is inside. Well, I shouldn't go off on that tangent. That is what happens on this channel or with the people that you're using the material from antiquity that is carried by different people who don't know that there's something in there that you are extracting. So anyway, all right, back to us. Those are parts of the personality that are called eventually. I can remember not fitting in, not knowing why. Now going, okay, yeah, there's a reason for that. I'm not supposed to fit in. That's not my brain type. I want to be off on my own. I want to contemplate. I've spent more hours sitting around and contemplating in solitude in my life than probably most people have, unless you're a bushman or something. Yeah, I've spent hours out there just pondering, thinking. Anyway, I guess what I want to examine here are some other things, like some personality things that I recognize in life now. I've worked in a variety of different environments with people, and I've had a lot of social interactions that were different. In many cases, I was a problem person around because of the different personality type. Don't go to a cubicle farm. That's not your place. That'll kill you. It's too loud. People are just going at things, watching videos loud. That it depends on the workplace you're in. The one that I was in didn't monitor that stuff, and I had to, get noise canceling headphones and things like that, and ask people, "Would you please turn that down?" And meanwhile, other people are around there, got their own things going on that are like, "What is your problem?" Just ignore it. And meanwhile, you can't. It's like it's in your head. People all around you are like, just ignore it. Who cares? Why would it even bother you? Meanwhile, you can't turn it off. You're not the same way. So that's going to be an issue right there. You're going to be stuck experiencing things that other people are not bothered by. And to be sure, this was it's not somebody just playing music or something like that. It was like very politically charged shows or shows, videos that were posted showing incredible violence and the shooting of people and things like that that were being applauded in the office environment as great things. I don't know. There are people who would listen to me complain about that and say, so what? Who are you? It bothered me. I didn't like it. I didn't fit. And I would suggest that is exactly what our evolutionary process is, that we need to look at something here. Our job in this, as a smaller amount of brain types in a larger group that's really protecting itself, to, we're on the outside. It is our job to be hyper vigilant and to be just more open and nervous to everything that's going on out there. You can't turn it off. The group relies on your brain type, so it's stuck in receive mode. You can't turn it off. But if you understand what it is, you go, oh, okay, I can manage this. That's what's going on. We have kind of this hypersensitivity to things like that. Another thing that I remember is, and this became evident, I wasn't sure what it was, but it did become evident. I had a job where I was traveling. We were traveling in pairs, and we were traveling many, many miles, several thousand miles a week, going and maintaining stations. This was more recent in my life, while I was working in a program where we were going out remote and working on these the remote weather stations that are used as part of the United States National Fire Danger Rating System. So these stations are out there that need to be maintained, and they're kept up. They're all part of that. Anyway, it was a government job. And okay, so you're traveling in pairs. You have to go in pairs for safety. And you're with that person in a vehicle, hours for a week at a time. Okay, couple weeks, couple months, couple years, 15 years. At some point, there's a group of about 6 or 7 of us that are traveling together all the time, and you hate each other. Except a couple people that are buddies that are inseparable. There's supposed to be a rotating thing, but it doesn't work at some point. They're personalities that clash. It's like, yeah, put me in with him, and when he starts driving like that, I'm going to call the police from the truck. It's like, I will not do that. I will not ride with that person. They scare me. They threaten people. All these things become parts of it. But one thing that became evident to me is that I had an awareness, a scope of awareness in the area that they never shared. I could see things come. It's like, oh, here's something coming up. And you would watch them as they're driving along, just blind to it, not realizing these things. They didn't see things until it was very up close to them. You're seeing things that are very far away. And that just became evident at some point in time. I had a larger scope of awareness. You'll have that. If you're the person, you're going to see that. You will turn around and look at people and go, why did you? We get it turned off back there and not been in this mess or something back there. And they're, well, I didn't see it. Why not? It was visible. They have to be close to it before they see it. There's weird things that you will notice about yourself that you realize you have a different personality. These are things you have to kind of chill with. I didn't at the time. I was thinking, why are you so... Meanwhile, I realized later, that's the way they're wired. They're doing exactly what they are. Well, I mean, sometimes you could, everybody has ups and downs, but after that period of time, you begin to realize trends, patterns. Yeah, these people don't have the same awareness. I can't stand the same environment. My work level is, I don't go... that's close enough. It's good enough. I'm like, here's the way it's supposed to be done. I want to replicate this every time. That's the proper way to do it. And then we clean everything up. There's no garbage left. There's no zip tie-ins or anything. I was so anal about this stuff. People were like, what is your problem? And meanwhile, you would think, why don't you just do it right? Why do you have to pick up that garbage? You held it in your hands and then dropped it. Why didn't you just put it in a garbage bag? We think differently. You'll see things going on that you wonder, why does this person not process better than that? Anyway, and that is going to be a part of what the experience is. Another one that I talked about on another video is that because we have that hypersensitivity, that the things that we carry ourselves are incredibly heavy. You could have something happen to you and somebody else have something happen that's similar, where you are incredibly impacted by it, where they might be like, yeah, whatever. So they have a capacity to let things go that you don't. And I'm not quite sure what that's about. It's a part of having the capacity to see clearly. When things are in the way and you are in turmoil, you can't see things clearly. And I need to be careful. I'm using analogous verbiage. See, what I mean is perceive. If you observe what is going on and you see something happen and you judge that, you're judging it through the filters of your perception. So it's going to be inaccurate. What is accurate is when you don't have any filters in place. Then when you see something happening, you have a better understanding, a more accurate idea of what is really there. You're not personally involved in it. You see what is happening instead of just being reactive to it from a personal level. All right, when Jesus tells us to remove the mote out of our eye, that's it. This is the mind's eye. This is what the mind's eye is how we perceive life. This is how you see life through the mind. That is called the mind's eye. The perceptions that you see is the capacity of your eye over it's really your perception that gives your brain what you see out there. All right, when Jesus says mote, what he means when you compare his material to everybody else's is that throughout life we have a bundle of memories that is our life experiences, and many of them are hurtful, judgmental, unresolved. They're very painful. They hurt us. That is the mote right there. Do you know the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz? He calls it a universal teaching. What does he have? The agreements. The agreements we've made is the mote in our eye. And as long as we're maintaining a lot of unresolved issues, we're making observations out there through those issues. And the only way to see things clearly out there is to resolve these issues. That is removing the mote from your eye. Okay, now so what we know then as we go through the material is that there is a called person, and if you are on this path, you're following an instruction set. And at some point, that is what the instruction is, that now you remove the mote from your eye in order to see things clearly. This is becoming poor in spirit. This is seeking emptiness. All of it is really just resolving those issues right there. But we naturally somehow want to resolve them. We don't feel good carrying them. It really tears us up. It tears up everybody and people act out, but we really want to resolve them because we get stuck in them, and it prevents us from seeing what we want to see. So there's some mechanism inside of us that is trying to get us to get rid of that stuff while we're in a world of people that are saying, shut up, get out, keep that to yourself, But back there evolving, we wouldn't have all that stuff in there. It would be, you're not going to have all that shame and pain and, things like that. You're going to have fear and joy, but you're probably going to have pretty much an open eye. Today, that's not the case. What happens when we begin to develop the brain to the point that it becomes this monstrous network of belief and conviction? Suddenly we have to unwrap ourselves from that. But anyone who steps back far enough will see that it's still around the globe. When you step back far enough, it's different tribes. Now they just have a little bit more complicated belief system is all. But they're still doing the same things that they did 2 million years ago. I don't know if this is a conscious thought process, but that's exactly what happens. As long as we're bothered by something, you're stuck in there. You don't want to be stuck there. So you want to resolve it. And you try to resolve it with people. Most people around are not that way. They will tell you, shut up, get out of here. I don't want to talk about it. I've had that happen a lot. It's how do I resolve this? If it bothers me, it's because it's something that happened between me and somebody else. I need to resolve it by talking with that other person until my mind is at ease. I have to find a way for that to happen while the other person is like, yeah, up yours, get out of here. So you have to find a way to resolve it. You have to do at least your part. I think sometimes that's what it is. Even if if you go to ask for forgiveness and your brother says, no, you can't have it. Well, at least do your part. You have asked and you have humbled yourself, even if they haven't. And if it's pure, it'll still work towards your healing. It's better off if the two of you at the end can shake hands completely comfortable with things. That would probably represent a fairly complete healing over an issue. If the person won't, then it might take a little bit more. I mean, you're still going to be in an environment where the person is hostile and you're in that field. You can't help but sense it. So it becomes uncomfortable. That's why the isolation is there. That exact same feeling. That's what makes us introverts. We don't like that feeling. We don't like the feeling of other people that is normal for them because it's what they do for the group. But for us, it's not our role. So it's better off we don't appreciate their experience and want to move out 2 million years ago. Now we're stuck here in society going, damn, how do I live this way? Okay, so let's see, what else have we got? All right, the next one has to do with personal values and reactions. I have struggled with this. I have not figured this out until more recently in life. I've had this up and down thing going on in life where I'm recognized at once for doing and figuring things out, and then punished for being disrespectful to a manager or a supervisor or an NCO or somebody like that, where I wouldn't back down. And it's been this very interesting path. I look back on it though, and I finally got it figured out. And it was a part of that driving with people again. It has to do with value systems. That I have certain value systems. I allow a lot of things, but in my mind, we're all equal. I don't really fit in that hierarchy rank structure. There's alpha and there's subordinates. There's a structure that we don't fit within. They try to put you in there and it doesn't work. But what is that? I mean, getting into that group that you're kind of expected to function within that group is what I mean. But you're not functioning within that group. They don't get that you're different. You get that you're different. They don't. Now, I want to be clear. I don't mean that I didn't respond to orders or what needed to be accomplished or anything like that. I knew the rank structure. I knew my job. I was, very good at it. I was in a technical field. The problem for me when it broke down is when I was with somebody who disrespected me as a person, not just as a lower ranking person, but as somebody who was going to be treated in a derogatory manner. But the problem that I ran into in working with people, one guy, I remember giving him a hard time for saying something. He and I had been traveling together for a long time, and I'd kind of had it. He pulled over. He was mad. He was angry, and he was doing this kind of thing at me. He's like, you know what? You're always telling me what to do. You're always trying to put boundaries on me, and I never tell you anything. What kind of spiritual stuff are you trying to spew when you got to be a control person like that? He finished and drove off, and I was like, boy, I got to think about that one because I felt like I was right. But I didn't have an answer right away. But that is what caused me to think about it. And I realized at some point it has to do with the variation in value systems. My value systems are this wide. His are this wide. He was constantly violating the way I felt. I never violated the way he felt. I don't know what it would have taken. Yeah, he would talk about things that I would say, man, that's enough. I don't want to hear any more of that stuff. But then, if I ever talked, it would generally be about, what I'm doing here. I'm into this study. I've been a lifelong student of this. This is my thing. I also forced people to never play the radio. It was my truck. I was the lead technician. Put on headphones. I don't want to hear this. And I won't play mine. If we shared something, that was different. We would talk about it. Sometimes I had all of those CDs that I would bring along with me. And if somebody wanted to listen to, a few people at time to time would listen to the Buddha ones or something like that. They didn't want anything else, but that was kind of cool. But by and large, it was, everybody on your own. But I can also remember being in that truck with somebody that, is my age or close to it, who has kids about the age of my kids, close to it. And we're driving through some town in the next state where the high school cheerleaders are out there, trying to get the car wash done for money raising, and they're in their bikinis and they're saying something that is so like, you would be like, you know what? You would not say that in public, and you wouldn't say it to that girl. And I don't know why you're saying it here. I don't like hearing that. Those are like my daughters. It was very offensive. But to them, it's like, what is your problem? I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything. She's a cutie. What's your problem? So what you realize there is you have value systems. That's not the best example. That was an easy one to spot, where the person that eventually asked me later on, and I realized, you know what, you're always into subjects and topics that I really don't care about. They get into this realm of, I don't want to get into it. Value systems. That's it. You're very flexible. You let a lot of things go. But when your value systems are violated, that's it. I've been punished twice in the military under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, both times for disrespect to senior enlisted throughout my career, who was just in the way things were, the way things work, who had been two that had degraded, belittled, and demeaned me, expecting me to knuckle under a rank structure where I just said, that's enough. I'm not a piece of crap. Where I come from, it's, there's a point where you had enough. And they say, why don't you go ahead and back down? I'll let you off the hook. And you say, bring it on. 2 weeks extra duty. Where do I sign? You know what happens later is they back off. They're bullies. But there's a point where I've had those experiences, and I look at that and I attribute them to at times when people degraded, belittled, demeaned me, put me down, put down other people that were innocent people, said things that were just outside of my value systems. That happens. That is why we can't stand the group or part of it. Yeah. So you'll see that happen. When people say, how come you have to tell me what to do, but I never tell you? If they bother you, look at that. Are they violating your value systems and you don't violate theirs? Obviously, those are things that are pretty much, if you're subject to being among people that you wouldn't, for some reason, choose to be with. Coworkers, sometimes when you're like that, you spend time with them like that. Quite honestly, you spend more time with them throughout the week than you would spend with your spouse. And in almost all cases, you wouldn't choose them to even be your neighbor, let alone the person you travel with. So it becomes very difficult. Depending on the person you are. There are some people that just ate that up forever, and they buddied up and they became like, we joke about them being married couples. If it worked, it worked. But it took a certain kind of really personality that was not going to work for me. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, here's another one. Perfectionism to the point that it's not good for group work. I did not function well in groups where we had to get something accomplished and each of us had a piece of the activity a part of the process. I always felt like people cut corners or didn't do a professional job, that there was like, if you're going to do it right, do it very incredibly well. If you're building something and cabling it and wiring it, dress it up, make it look good, make it look factory. Don't just slap the stuff together. But you're with people that slap the stuff together, and it would work, but it would look like crap, and it was difficult to troubleshoot. And it was so I had this kind of thing wired in that made it difficult for me to work in groups. It's still around the house. I don't like things left unresolved. I have to take care of them. If something has to be taken care of, it feels like it is hanging over me. And that's just a part of my personality. I think this is actually talked about in the material. A lot of times it tells you sometimes to be this way, and you look at that and go, I already am that way. Yeah, I'm like that. I like to resolve the odd against my brother. It does make me feel better. Absolutely. I do this naturally. I think there's other stuff too, like if, you might apply yourself to something for a long time and get incredibly good at it and then finally go, I don't get challenged here anymore, and then drop it completely and do something completely different as far as hobbies or activities or something like that. I tend to keep exploring and doing new things in life. I mountain climbed a lot at one time, and it was incredibly important to me. Now all my gear is out in the garage. It's been stored away for a couple of years as I get into this. I have moved on. I do that in life. And that would probably be a part of what you do as well. However, because of our empathy and because of our sense of you want to help other people, we get caught up in bad relationships and have a difficult time leaving those when we need to get the hell out. There's times where you just need to move on and let the other person move on too. But we struggle with moving on from bad relationships. I have a wonderful one now. Absolutely. But you know what? We're moving targets. That's what happens. We are growing and changing throughout life. And the people that we fit with at any point in time, we don't continue to fit with them. We're going to outgrow those if we continue to move. The energy that we have, even the hidden stuff, dictates that we go to places where that fits with, where it's going to get triggered, where it's going to get activated, where you're going to see it's still here. I'm bringing it with me. So you're going to have to keep resolving it. And as you resolve it, you're going to cease to fit. You can be in an environment where that ceases to trigger, but the relationship is still okay. It's what I'm suggesting is that throughout life, if you come from a bad place and you're going to a good place, it's not going to happen in a step. It won't. You're going to move gradually. And that's why the process is the way it is. That's reincarnation, or a repeating monomyth path. It's a pathway back to the beginning of your life. All right, well, that was it. This actually was prompted by a conversation elsewhere where, there's a real struggle at times, I think, that for people to look around and go, this is the average person. Everybody is like this, but I'm not. How come I can't fit? And we struggle with that without realizing, you know what? You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to fit, but we will suffer our lives trying to figure out why without realizing we have a different role, and that we need to learn what that is and embrace that role. And instead of trying to fit in with where places you don't fit, it's not your place. It isn't. You don't belong there. I don't belong there. We belong somewhere else. They rely on us to be somewhere else, something else. However, it's not going to work. So we just have to get together and talk and learn and see what's happening. We're the, if the people that are on board with this right here, with what I'm talking about and this whole thinking process, we would be among the philosophers of old. We would. We'd be with them talking about this stuff and trying to figure out how to get it out into the population to carry it around so that anybody out there that ever got a chance to figure it out could find their way. Meanwhile, we got a bunch of unruly people that need some guidance. Let's put it in a package like this that gives them guidance at the same time. Well, I went off on the material there, didn't I? We're looking at personalities here. We will go dig into that. Oh, pattern seeking. We are incredibly good at remembering specific things. We see patterns. Everybody does. Humans see patterns naturally. Cycles, cause and effect. Do we see patterns? Of course we do. And in fact, that should be evident if you go through my material and what I'm finding in Genesis and, other books of the Bible too, just seeing deeper patterns in things, not realizing how deep they were, but seeing it a layer deep enough that makes you go pursue it. And then only then does it open up into something much bigger. But the pattern seeking is what gets us there. But everything in there is also patterned. You'll probably be that same way. Anyway, okay, these are things I think that are just helpful to know and understand and learn. We think we don't belong. We try to fit when you need to look at it and go, nope, that's not your job. You don't fit there. You don't belong there. You need to be sitting on a mountaintop someplace contemplating reality. Sitting around the fire and, watching the embers glow. The wind whipping the flames, dancing shadows on the rock walls. Yeah. Coyotes off in the distance, howling away. Stars in the sky overnight. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. It's a lot more fun than other things. Although I might sit there with a bottle of wine too. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this video. Yeah, it's just really trying to show people, if you're seeking, that there's something going on that we need to know if we understand it. And if we understand it better, we can function better with it. Find your place. It isn't everybody else's, not at all. Not at all. You got more going on. All right. Hope it was helpful. Feel free to post your own experiences below and your own ideas. I'm sure I left a lot off the table. This is just kind of a reflection of my own life and some thoughts. So hope it was helpful. See you in the next video.